All right, so we are live on today's podcast recording. I'm going to be going over acquisitions. This is a series that I'm doing on getting started in real estate investing. If you haven't watched the first one in the series on lead generation, you need to watch or listen to that one first, okay? Or else this one's not going to make as much sense. So we've got 4 pillars of a real estate investing business. The first one is lead generation. We got to find people who have properties they might want to sell. Step 2 is what we're going to cover today, which is acquisitions. How do we go out and how do we acquire that property? What do we need to know before we go out? What do we do when we're on the appointment? What do we do after the appointment? And then once we get a thing under contract, we've got to figure out disposition. What are we going to do with this property? That's the third pillar. And then the fourth pillar is contract management. Once we found, an end buyer for the property, we've got to close on that contract. So today we'll be going over the second part of a real estate investing business, and that is acquisitions. Let's say you've got leads. Talked about a lot of different ways to generate leads in the first episode of this series. Let's just say that you're doing direct mail because it's something you can easily do part-time. You can have a full-time job. You can spend some money on some direct mail, and you're not having to go out and knock on doors. You're not having to work weekends. You're not having to drive for dollars. So it's a very easy place to get started. And let's say you've got an appointment coming up in the next few days to go view a property where a property owner reached out to you and said, yes, I would be interested in selling, or I want to sell this property. Okay. Here's some things you need to do before you ever go out on this property. You need to go ahead and run some comps. Okay. You can do this with Zillow. You can do it with Realtor. You can do it in PropStream. You can do it, a lot of us who are agents use the MLS, and we're trying to figure out, what would this thing be worth if it was totally fixed up? Okay. We don't know what it's going to look like necessarily before we go to it, right? So we can't really figure out, that number, but we definitely need to know before we go out to this property, what would it be worth if it needed rehab, if it needed to be fixed up and we were to get it at a price where we could buy it and fix it up, how much would it actually sell for? Okay. That's number 1. Number 2, what would this property rent for? Okay. What would this property rent for? If you don't know how much properties rent for, again, you can pull up comparables, do some shopping on Zillow, do some shopping on Realtor.com, do some shopping on Facebook Marketplace, apartments.com. There's a ton of rental websites out there. Get on the rental websites and try to find a house that's in a similar area with a similar number of bedrooms, baths, and square footage, and just see what they're asking for them for rent. Okay. And again, just because they're asking that for rent doesn't mean they're actually going to rent for that much, right? But that at least gives you a place to start. Now, you might be listening to this or watching this and saying, Phil, I'm not going to flip anything, and I'm not going to, I don't want to be a landlord either. Well, that's fine. If you're going to wholesale this property, the people that you're going to wholesale it to are going to be flippers, or they're going to be landlords. So you need to know what your numbers are going to be, because if you're going to try to, assign this property over to a landlord or a flipper, it's got to be a deal that makes sense for them. If the numbers don't make sense for them, you're going to waste your time on this appointment, and you're going to waste your time on step 3 on dispositions. You're going to put it out there on the market, and you're going to field some phone calls, some text messages, some emails, and nobody's going to want your property. So you've got to look at this in multiple different ways, multiple exit strategies. All right. So before I go out to look at a property, before I go and walk through it, I want to know what my numbers are. So that's step number 1. Now, step number 2 is when I'm actually out there at the property, I've got to figure out, what is it going to take for this thing to be rent ready? What is it going to take for this thing to be, top of the market, listed on the market as a flip if we were to flip it? You should have some kind of way of estimating what the rehab budget of this property is going to be. I would not waste a contractor's time in this beginning stage I would only get a contractor once we get it under contract, which we'll talk about on dispositions a little bit. I wouldn't waste contractors' time coming out and giving me estimates when I haven't even made an offer on the property yet. And I would recommend to you, please don't do that. You want to get on a contractor's bad side, have them come out and spend 2 or 3 days getting estimates for you on a property you haven't even written an offer on yet that you don't even know you're going to get. That's a waste of time. It's a waste of his time, and it's a waste of your time. But there are some great tracking tools out there to help you estimate what it would cost to replace flooring, to paint a house, okay? It's about $3 a square foot to paint a house in the Tuscaloosa area, give or take. It's about $5 a square foot to put in new flooring, all right? You can get vinyl plank flooring, really good vinyl plank flooring, for $2.50 a square foot. And somebody's going to have to tear it out and put it back in and put the new stuff back in. $5 a square foot for flooring, okay? Probably $15,000 to $20,000 to rehab a bathroom. $25,000 to $35,000 to renovate a kitchen. But you might not need to renovate the kitchen. You might just need to paint the cabinets. You might need to throw in some appliances. So while you're at the property, you need to go room to room, and I would take a notepad and I would make notes on everything that you think would need to be done to make this house look great. Or what's the minimum we could do to get this thing rent ready to put a tenant in it, okay? I would maybe have 2 columns when you're out at the property. Bedroom 1 needs a new window. Ceiling fan's got to be replaced. Paint, flooring. And this does not have to be complex, okay? Go into the bathroom. This vanity is toast. It looks awful. I don't even know how it works. I'm gonna go get a price for a vanity. Get on the Home Depot website. Get on the Lowe's website. Find in our area, there's a store called Home Outlet that I've used for years and gotten great deals on materials. When you're at the property, that's really what you're looking for. Some people would say try to build rapport with the seller. I think that kind of just happens naturally by you showing up, you looking prepared, having a plan, and then explaining to them, what the steps of this thing are going to be. If you're not at the point where you can go out and run some calculations real quick and give them an offer right then don't tell them that's what you're going to do. Tell them, hey, I'm going to get prices for all this stuff, and the next 24 to 48 hours, I'll reach back out to you, and I can either give you an offer over the phone or I can come back out here. Which do you prefer? Okay. So you need to know your exit strategies. You need to know how much it's going to cost to get this property rent ready and or retail market ready. And then the third step of that is writing offers. All right. I see a lot of people go out to properties, they view them, they think about it for a couple days, some of them for a couple weeks. I have people that literally email me or call me almost every day about a property they've been looking at for weeks. And they're really kind of wanting my opinion on an offer they should send. And I ask them, well, what was your first offer? And they say, well, Phil, I hadn't made an offer yet. You're wasting your time. If you're going out to these properties, you're wasting their time, by going out to these properties and not sending offers. The whole purpose of a lead is to set an appointment. The whole purpose of an appointment is to send an offer. The whole purpose of sending an offer is to get something under contract. So, know your exit strategies. If it's a short-term rental market, AirDNA is a great website that can give you data on what, properties are going for in the short-term rental market in that area. You can literally plug in an address and it will tell you how much they estimate that property would bring in over the next 12 months if it was on Airbnb. Okay, AirDNA is the website. I would recommend paying for their data if you are going to be doing this. Rent-O-Meter, Rent-O-Meter, whichever way you want to go. Great website for looking at rental comps. Rentometer.com. It's like $40 or $50 for a year, and it pulls up rental comparables for you. Okay, Zillow, Realtor.com, the MLS if you've got that, Courthouse Records if you have access to that, can pull comparable sales for you for an area. So you need to know your numbers before you go out. You need to make notes about the property and come up with a rehab budget while you're there. And then the third step is writing offers, okay? We normally give two different kinds of offers. We normally give a quick cash offer. And if we're going to buy the property right now and pay all cash for it, we're going to get it at a discount. And luckily for us in the investor world, there's people out there that move into properties, and instead of the values going up like most people's houses do, there are people out there that don't take care of their properties and the property values go down. And that's an opportunity for us to come in and pick up a property. We normally give a quick cash offer, and then we give a creative finance offer. I don't have time to go over creative finance on this video, on this podcast today. It will be covered at length in this podcast with examples of deals we've actually done with creative financing. But if you don't know what creative financing is, go to YouTube and type it in. Go to your favorite podcast carrier and look up creative financing. And a whole new world will be open to you when you understand the world of creative financing. You'll be able to pick up more properties and solve more problems for people when you have that as an option versus just being a quick cash offer type, kind of investor. We go out to the property. We know our numbers beforehand. We come up with rehab budgets and we send offers. That's all we're doing in the acquisition game. Here's something I want you to realize about acquisitions as well. 70% of the properties you get under contract are going to require some follow-up. So you're going to send them an offer today, and they're going to say, thanks for the offer, we'll let you know. And what they're doing is they're talking to other people like you, and they're trying to see if they can get a better offer out there. And they might get a better offer. You're probably going up against other people in the same marketplace for these same houses. But what I found is there's a lot of folks that will offer a higher price than I do, but they normally can't actually close the deal for a variety of reasons, which we'll talk about on the next episode in this series on dispositions, why that happens about half the time. There's been times where I've stood firm on my number. I lost out on a deal, I thought. And then a week or two later, I'm getting a phone call saying, hey, Phil, would you still do it for the price you gave? And, and I either say, yes, I will, or I'll say, well, I'm going to have to be a little bit better price than what I initially offered because I went out and got some other properties going, in the meantime. You might be able to renegotiate even. So that's what the acquisition game is all about. Going on appointments, analyzing properties, sending offers. That's it. Let me know how it goes. I want to let you know as well about the Tuscaloosa Real Estate Investor Club. If you have not come to one of our monthly meetings, you got to check it out. There's a Facebook group out there. Looks like this picture on the screen. For those that are listening and can't see it on the screen, just look up Tuscaloosa Real Estate Investors Club. And there's a picture that says Tuscaloosa Real Estate Investors Club. And it looks like we're sitting in the student section of Bryant-Denny Stadium for an Alabama football game on the left side. That is our investor club. That's where we post deals. That's where we post about coaching opportunities that we have. I have a coaching program out there. Very, very affordable, tremendous amount of value for beginners looking to get started in real estate investing world. And then we have monthly meetups where we all get together and we get to hang out. We get to talk about deals. We analyze properties together. You will get more information at one of these meetings than you'll get at a 2 or 3 day seminar. Thanks for checking out this episode. Best of luck. Feel free to reach out.